Silence, in the Buddhist tradition, is not an absence but a presence, a space where truths emerge unfiltered and untouched by our habitual need to explain, justify, or embellish. When we sit in silence, something shifts. The layers of noise, both external and internal, begin to settle. The mind, often clouded with opinions and commentary, starts to reveal its deeper patterns. The Buddha himself often remained silent when asked certain philosophical questions. Not because he lacked answers, but because he recognized that some questions arise from confusion and that words, in such cases, could deepen misunderstanding. His silence was an invitation for the questioner to turn inward, to sit with their own discomfort, and to observe what surfaces in that quiet space. This unspoken teaching points us toward a different kind of knowing, one not built on intellectual grasping but on direct experience. In silence, we meet reality as it is, without the filter of concepts. The rustling of leaves, the rise and fall of the breath, the subtle flicker of an emotional response, all become teachers when we stop trying to label them. In a world obsessed with filling space, both physical and mental, silence stands as a radical act of presence. It asks us to pause, to feel, and to remember that not everything needs to be explained. Some truths are meant to be felt, not spoken. In the heart of Buddhist practice, listening is not just a passive act, it is a form of meditation. True listening begins in silence. It's about opening ourselves fully to the other person, without planning our next response, without judging, without clinging to our own narratives. This kind of listening allows us to hear not just words, but also emotions, fears, and longings beneath the surface. When we approach conversations from a place of inner silence, we notice things we would have missed. The tremble in a voice, the hesitation before an answer, the unspoken sorrow behind casual words. This sensitivity deepens our capacity for compassion. We no longer listen just to reply. We listen to understand. In Buddhist teachings, this is often called deep listening or compassionate listening. It requires more than ears. It calls on the heart. Thich Nhat Hanh, a beloved Zen master, taught that listening with mindfulness is one of the greatest gifts we can offer another human being. It helps to relieve suffering because the person feels truly seen and heard. Silence creates the container for this type of listening. Without it, we are too full, too filled with our assumptions, opinions, and noise. But when we sit in that receptive quiet, space opens. In that space, healing can begin. Sometimes, no advice is needed. Just our silent, loving presence is enough. Silence doesn't just surround us, it also reflects us. In the stillness, our mind becomes a mirror. Without the distraction of words or external noise, we begin to see the true state of our inner world. Thoughts that we usually push aside come bubbling up. Old stories, worries, judgments, and desires emerge from the corners where we've hidden them. At first, this can feel uncomfortable. Sitting in silence can make us restless or anxious because it confronts us with ourselves. The mind starts racing, generating lists, memories, regrets, and plans for the future. But this is part of the process. The Buddha taught that recognizing the nature of our mind, without trying to change or suppress it, is the first step toward wisdom. In these quiet moments, we learn to watch thoughts like passing clouds. We notice how feelings arise and fade, how judgments come and go, and how sensations shift from moment to moment. The silence reveals the impermanence of everything we usually cling to. Over time, this observation builds equanimity. We stop believing every thought. We stop reacting to every feeling. Instead, we start resting in awareness itself, a spacious, silent presence that watches without getting caught. Silence becomes the ground where insight grows. It shows us that behind the mind's noise, there is always a calm, steady witness waiting patiently. Silence offers us something rare and powerful: the space between stimulus and response. In that gap, we find our freedom. When something triggers us, a harsh word, a disappointment, an unexpected difficulty, our usual habit is to react instantly. Anger flares, defenses rise, words spill out that we later regret. But Buddhist practice invites us to pause, to sit in silence before acting. This pause is not weakness. It's wisdom in motion. By stepping back, even for a breath or two, we create room to observe what's really happening inside us. Is it anger, hurt, fear, attachment? From this place of silent witnessing, we can choose a response rooted in compassion and understanding rather than impulse. The Buddha called this mindful restraint. It's not about suppressing emotions, but about giving them enough space to be seen clearly. Only then can we respond skillfully. Silence helps cool the flames of reactivity. It reminds us that we are not our first emotion, nor our sharpest thought. In everyday life, this might look like pausing before sending a heated text, breathing deeply before answering in an argument, or simply walking away for a moment to regain perspective. These small acts of silence can prevent harm, not just to others, but to ourselves. In this stillness, we cultivate peace. We trade short-term release for long-term understanding. In Buddhism, the path to wise speech begins with wise silence. Before speaking, practitioners are encouraged to ask, is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? This reflective pause, rooted in silence, transforms communication into an intentional act rather than an automatic reaction. Silence gives us the chance to examine our motivations. Are we speaking from ego, from a need to dominate, impress, or defend? Or are we speaking to bring clarity, healing, or understanding? Often, when we sit in that brief silence before opening our mouths, we realize that some words are better left unspoken. The Buddha often emphasized the value of right speech, one of the steps on the Noble Eightfold Path. Right speech means avoiding lies, gossip, harsh words, and idle chatter. But it's not just about avoiding harm, it's about using words skillfully when they can truly benefit. When we anchor our words in silence, they carry more weight. Others notice the intention behind them. A single sentence, spoken from mindfulness, can offer more comfort than a flood of empty reassurances. A pause before answering can show more respect than hurried advice. By making silence a companion to our speech, we begin to communicate with greater authenticity. Each word becomes a choice, a tool for connection rather than division. And in that choice, wisdom takes root. In Buddhist meditation, silence is not just a backdrop, it's an active participant in the practice. It holds the space where observation deepens and insight arises. As we sit on the cushion, silence embraces us like an invisible teacher, guiding our attention back to the present moment again and again. Without external distractions or internal dialogue, we become more intimate with our own breath, the sensations in our body, and the subtle movements of the mind. Each inhalation and exhalation stands out more clearly against the quiet. The rustle of clothing, the distant sound of a bird, or the gentle beat of our own heart becomes part of the meditation, reminding us that silence is never truly empty. Buddhist teachings often describe this state as returning home. In silence, we meet ourselves as we are, without performance, without expectation. We see the habitual loops of thought that often dominate our waking life, and with each observation, we loosen their grip. This is why silent retreats are such a cornerstone of Buddhist practice. Days or even weeks spent in noble silence offer practitioners the rare chance to settle deeply into awareness, peeling back layers of mental noise. Silence in meditation doesn't mean the absence of thought. It means not chasing after thoughts. It means letting them come and go like passing clouds while resting in the vast, open sky of awareness. Monastic life in Buddhism offers a living example of how silence can transform the mind and heart. Monks and nuns across Buddhist traditions regularly observe periods of noble silence, not just during meditation, but throughout their daily routines. Meals are eaten quietly, chores are done mindfully, and even communal gatherings often happen without words. This silence is not an imposition. It is a chosen discipline, embraced with the understanding that fewer words mean fewer distractions and fewer opportunities for misunderstanding or harm. The energy normally spent on casual conversation is redirected toward inner observation, compassion, and clarity. In the stillness of the monastery, even simple acts become meditative. Sweeping a floor, washing a bowl, walking along a path, all are done with full attention. Without conversation to pull the mind outward, practitioners can stay rooted in the present moment, fully aware of body, mind, and surroundings. This monastic silence also creates a sense of collective peace. Even in a room filled with people, the air feels soft, unhurried, and sacred. Visitors often describe feeling a deep calm just by entering these spaces, sensing the accumulated stillness of countless silent moments. For monks and nuns, silence is not isolation. It's connection to themselves, to each other, and to the Dharma. Through it, they cultivate patience, discipline, and a compassionate awareness that spills into every action. Silence is not always easy, especially in moments charged with emotion. When anger flares, when grief overwhelms, or when we feel misunderstood, the urge to speak, sometimes to lash out, is strong. Yet, in these very moments, choosing silence can be one of the most compassionate acts we offer ourselves and others. Buddhist practice teaches that silence can prevent harm. Words spoken in haste can wound deeply and linger for years. By pausing, by allowing space for feelings to settle, we reduce the risk of adding suffering to an already difficult situation. This isn't about suppressing emotions. It's about honoring them without letting them control our actions. Sometimes, our silent presence can offer more comfort than any words. Sitting beside someone in pain, holding space for them without rushing to fix or explain, sends a powerful message, "I'm here with you." This kind of compassionate silence allows others to feel seen, heard, and supported without pressure. And there's self-compassion too. Giving ourselves permission to remain quiet when we don't have the right words, or when we need time to understand our own heart, is an act of kindness toward ourselves. Silence, when chosen with mindfulness, becomes a refuge. It shields, it heals, and it speaks volumes, without a single word. As this reflection on silence comes to a close, let's pause, right here, and take a slow, conscious breath. Feel the air entering and leaving your body. Notice the gentle rise and fall of your chest. For a moment, allow yourself to rest in this spacious stillness. Silence in Buddhist practice is not a void to fear, but a sanctuary to embrace. It's the soft ground where understanding grows, where compassion deepens, and where we meet life as it truly is, without filters or defenses. In silence, we recognize that behind every word, every thought, and every feeling, there is a vast, unchanging awareness that holds it all. Perhaps you've already noticed it while listening to this narrative. Small pauses, moments where your mind settled, where insight quietly arose. That's the wisdom of silence at work. Not forcing, not pushing, just offering space. When you step away from this listening experience, carry that stillness with you. Let it guide you in your conversations, in your reactions, and in the way you show up for yourself and others. Pause before speaking. Breathe before responding. Allow room for understanding before jumping to conclusions. Even in the noise of daily life, remember, you can return to silence anytime. Whether it's one mindful breath, a few seconds of reflection, or a longer sit in meditation, silence is always available. It waits patiently behind the chatter, behind the rush, behind the noise. So, for now, rest in this knowing. Let the quiet hold you like a friend. Trust that even without words, you are growing, healing, and waking up to the simple, profound truth of this moment.